folks. Doug Hagman, Joe Hagman here from Hear the Watchman in Dallas, Texas. Let me tell you something. What a great conference this is. We are speaking behind the scenes. This is behind the scenes now. If you weren't here, you missed one of the greatest presentations by one of the most informative guests that we had, Mr. L.A. Marzulli from lamarzulli.net, and also ppsreport.com. L.A. Marzulli, thanks for joining us behind the scenes.
My pleasure, guys. Good to be here.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what.
It's great to have you.
Yeah, what an amazing presentation you put on. And so is that kind of a prelude to what's coming in sometime in June, maybe Watchers 10?
Well, Watchers 10 and the book Nephilim Hybrid, it's the stuff that's in there, the information that we've uncovered. It's what some of us have been waiting for a while. I will tip my hand a little bit and just say it's not 100% conclusive, but the evidence seems to be leading in a very interesting place. We also have stories, we also have interviews in Watchers 10 that frankly I'm having trouble believing them, and I'm talking one-on-one with witnesses. I'm actually handling artifacts, looking at artifacts, going, this can't be, and yet it's there. And I can't really get into it because it's we're not even in post yet, but we will be. But yeah, Watchers 10 is coming out. The new book, Nephilim Hybrid. Something is going on here, guys. And we've talked about this on your show many times before. But there's an outside agency that's manipulating the human genome. And of course, in our opinion, this goes right back of a Genesis 3 account, not even 6. 3. The seed of a serpent will be at enmity, at war with the seed of the woman. And that's what we're looking at. And we see evidence of that through history and now, of course, in modernity.
While we got the chance, I'd like to ask you a question. You've been all across America and seen evidence of Nephilim and the giants.
Mm-hmm.
How much of the history of this country is hidden, do you think? Let
me put it to you this way. There's a picture which I showed at the conference here. I sort of gave everyone a taste of where the book is going. Almost 2 years now. I was out on Catalina Island. And I paid $1,000. It was a contribution to the new museum, which they still haven't built. And I was allowed to access photographs and records from this archaeologist by the name of Ralph Glidden. And when you use archaeologists, we're using that term very loosely. And some people say he's a little more of a grave robber. And I get it, he was. But he was employed by the High Museum. High Museum was later gobbled up by the Smithsonian. And this is all 1919, so we're coming up on 100 years. So I was able to look at photographs and journals, clippings, writings, newspaper, the whole deal.
Right.
I was there for 10 hours in the archive. And I discovered photographs that were sitting in manila envelopes, tucked away in museum boxes. And those museum boxes put in a vault, the vault's locked, never received a light of day. And what I discovered there, the one picture that sort of made news was the one the History Channel picked up on, where Ralph Glidden is standing in a recently excavated tomb, and in front of him is the 9-footer. I think you guys have seen that. I know you've seen it. And when we went back to Catalina, and this is all in Watchers 10 and also in the book, Nephilim Hybrids, but we walk in the museum, and there's the picture. And this answers your question, but the picture has been cropped. And the giant, which is in front of him, which is 9 foot, is no longer in the picture. It's just Ralph Glidden leaning on a shovel like this with all the other artifacts around him. And right where the giant should be, the picture has been cropped. And that, folks, is 100% deliberate. There's no reason to crop that. There's no reason except deliberate obfuscation. It's damage control. And that picture was never used by the museum. I discovered the picture and published the picture. I was allowed to do that. That was part of the contract. I published a picture. It went viral, and this is what I believe is called damage control.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Well, let me take kind of a left-hand turn here, and let me ask you a question. I had spoken to Peter Lavenda in L.A. You did a conference with the Nephilim Mounds. With Russ Dizdar,
sure.
We went to Newark, Ohio, the earthworks there. Okay. Now, this is unscripted. LA does not know I'm asking this question. All right.
Here comes a fastball.
Yeah, there you go. Again, behind the scenes now. Have you noticed, and again, if your research has not gone in this direction, I understand that. But have you connected the dots between the earthworks, the ancient burial grounds, or I shouldn't say burial grounds, but the ancient grounds here in America, such as the Newark earthworks, and serial killers.
Whoa.
Is that kind of a left-handed
Well,
pitch?
that's I've never. No one's ever hit me with that before. Nothing would surprise me, and that would tie in only because these sites are ritualistic sites. For instance, you talk about the Newark earthworks, the Great Circle Mound, almost 1,200 feet across, right? On the center of that is a mound.
Mm-hmm.
So you got this earthwork, and it's a henge. It's like when it was functioning as a ritualistic site, none of the trees were there. Let's say it's a midsummer night, right around this, or before the midsummer solstice night. Probably everything's lit up with torches, but that henge, that trench, which is basically follows the mound all the way around,
Right.
would be filled with water. There's an altar in the center of the circle, and on that altar, archaeologists discovered human remains. Now, we believe that these are all ritualistic sites. They are highly charged, as Russ Disjar would say.
Right.
Highly charged sites. Blood sacrifice was used to open the gateways to bring the old one, the fallen ones in. Nothing would surprise me whether after the sacrifice, literally a fallen angel maybe would descend or appear or whatever. So and I'll just tell you a story which sort of lends into that. Around the circle is a group of houses like this.
Yep.
So there's a road that circles the circle mound, and then there's all these houses. So we get a call from a woman who's full on possessed. What happened was they went out to their yard, they were digging fence posts. They disturbed the land, and something came in and went into her. She's fully possessed, and she's, excuse me, we're doing a deliverance, Richard Grund actually and myself on the phone. Richard basically led the charge. I'd sort of listened and prayed and backed him up. It's always good to do these things in twos, but it's all done on phone. Excuse me. And as we're getting this thing out, this spirit, this unclean spirit, which has possessed her. By the way, when it happened, they fled the house and moved to another house, and the thing followed them there. So she's possessed, and as Richard's commanding this thing to leave, the thing begins to choke her. Her face turns totally black, and then it was gone, and that was it. We got the victory in Jesus, in Yeshua,
Right.
which is the way it's supposed to work. But these sites, there's all sorts of stuff. When my wife and I, this is 3 years ago, when we went to I think it was Nephilim Mounds 2, and we were out at the mounds, at the circle, the Great Circle Mound, and we prayed up beforehand, and we're just walking in the circle, and she felt something coming up through the ground, and she said, something's coming up into me. That's what she said. We immediately rebuked it, and of course it left. The bottom line is these sites are charged, and when someone, a serial killer, someone who is, well, first of all, to be a serial killer, just think about that. Think of how dark you've got to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Where you're obsessed with killing as many people as you possibly can. Utterly demonic, right out of Hell's Kitchen, as Russ would say. And so these sites, in my opinion, even though I've never studied this, would certainly attract this type of an individual.
All right. Yeah, and that was something that I got to tell you, based on your research, and folks, this is really kind of connecting the dots, and L.A. Marzulli's work with all of this. I mean, had you been here, and if you were here, you know what I'm talking about. So many dots to connect, and the research that Mr. Marzulli has done is just incredible. So, the bottom line is we're looking at, and Peter Levenda is one researcher, but we're looking at the nexus between these spots and serial killers and ritualistic killings and such. So it's great because you filled in a lot of information. So what's up next for you, man? I mean, Watch was 10,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. How long did you spend on that? I mean, what? You had at least spend a week putting it together, right? No, I'm serious. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. I sure you are, but it's months.
Really?
I mean, it takes us. We try to do 2 a year. Last year we only did 1. We're going to try to squeeze 2 out this year. We got to see what happens. But it's ongoing, and it's just Richard Shaw and myself.
Right.
It's a 2-man crew. That's it. And we go these places. We do these interviews, and we get the information. And Richard does an incredible job in the editing. I mean, that's really what makes it. Otherwise, it's just a talking head yakking.
Right.
Richard really
Right.
puts the music and all the graphics and and tells a story. And of course, to do that, that's where the art comes in, and Richard's amazing at it.
But yeah, you have just a phenomenal product.
Bringing this interview home, what did you think of the conference at Hear the Watchman?
I thought the conference was really cool. A lot of information. There were some standouts, all the way through it. I thought Russ on Friday night was just hit a home run out of the park. Broke the scoreboard on the way out. With the high fly ball there.
That's right.
I mean, he was just off the charts. It was just on fire. He was just incredible. Paul McGuire Friday night.
Oh my goodness.
Incredible. I mean, it was just, the people were amazing, as always, hungry, eager, open. There's just a spirit of love that just permeates the event. And just a little side shot here for those who were literally working against it, and we won't get into that here, other to say that what they were doing was right from the pit. That type of nonsense is right from the pit, and you know who I'm talking about.
Amen to that. And of course, we prevailed.
We did.
So and thank God for that. You know what, LA? It's just a pleasure knowing you. I got to ask you. Right before you went on, folks, and this is fantastic. Right before you went on, I know that we were under like this intense pressure to get some things done. But I got to ask you, how many? You mentioned to me, you said I've got so many slides to get through, X number of slides, and,
right.
I heard you, and I stopped and I thought about that for a second. I'm thinking, wait a minute,
Do the math.
How many did he say?
108
108 slides
in 2 hours.
In 2 hours,
And we did it. It's
108.
pretty cool.
Folks,
Yak, 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 yak.
that is what is if you didn't see that. Well, of course, this may be part of the DVD. We don't know. I mean, but this could go rogue on the internet, folks. But seriously, anything in closing, Ellie, that you want to promote, talk about, or
I would just say this: that we are in a window of time, which, in my opinion, is unprecedented.
Yes.
And I honestly think, as I said at the conference, we're never going to fix the ideology of the mullahs in Tehran, Iran, or the ideology of Hamas or ISIS, or what's happening in Syria. The toothpaste is out of a tube, and we can't. You can't put back 1 million Muslims that are in Europe now, which are changing the political landscape there and the cultural landscape there. I mean, it is, and so we're at a point. We're rushing towards this point of no return, and the only answer to it, in my opinion, is the return of the King, and that's what I pray for, long for, hope for. And if you think you know him, but you don't know him, Yeshua, then you don't know him, and he's not who you think he is. He's the Prince of Peace, and he loves you, and he has a plan for your life. We've heard that, but it's true. He has a plan for your life. So,
Amen.
Ask him into your heart.
God bless you, folks. Hear the Watchman, Dallas, Texas. Hear the Watchman. LA, one last question. Your next appearance, are you scheduled for any other conferences?
Yeah, we're North Carolina, Indiana, and then, of course, Prophecy Watchers Conference in July, which is sold out already, and that's going to be through the roof. Over 1,000 people will be there. Unbelievable list of speakers. ProphecyWatchers.com, ProphecyWatchers.com. So that's what's on the docket right now, and fall calendar's starting to fill up. So.
All right, don't forget lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net, and ppsreport.com, right?
That's
there
it.
is,
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
God bless you guys. You guys are great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, folks.